And I'm gonna roll. Brooke,
Present.
Bert,
Here.
Joanna Roach,
Here.
Ruthie,
Here.
Linda,
Here.
is John?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, John.
Hi.
Okay. I'm going to read the script for conducting. Oh, staff. Oh, I haven't got, I was going to do the preliminary meeting rules and then call you. As a preliminary matter, this is the Worthy Hertz Chair of the Contract Review. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated in the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, again, please respond in the affirmative. Brooke?
Yep.
Ruthie?
Here.
Joanna?
Here.
Here. Linda?
Here.
Bert?
Here.
John?
Here.
Staff members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jericho?
Here in attendance.
Ann?
Here.
Somebody has to mute their phone.
It was Ann. She's got it.
Okay. Good morning. This is the open meeting of the Contract Review Committee is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspend the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allow public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For the meeting of the CRC is conveying by video conference of the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating via video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials have been provided. Members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meetings. I, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down and ask down the line of members, inviting each to by name to provide any comment, question, or motions. Please hold until your name is called further. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public who have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their name and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote will be taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thanks, everybody. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Linda?
Yep.
Joanna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ruth? We'll go. Bert?
Yes.
Ruthie?
Yes. I didn't realize my phone was unmuted.
Thank you. Okay, we have a discussion and approval of the second quarter payments for fiscal year 2022 as our first thing on the agenda. I'm gonna ask one thing I would. So in doing this, Jericho, I'm gonna ask you, I just got off the phone with the hospital. In doing this, can I discuss my conversation?
You should be able to discuss your conversation. It's new information being introduced that is relevant to the discussion on what we're going to approve, and it will directly impact their funding returns. So I think it might not be a bad idea to start with that. But if we may, I'd like to very briefly mention a couple of ground rules on how we should be looking at this and what our role is here. So my position is I do not endorse any of the particular options in front of you, as that's an ethics violation on my part. So what I do is I try to make a neutral ground for us to work on. And I'm just going to try and introduce if there's a problem from my side on the town for any of these grants or grant holders. So one of the things that we should be taking care of when we're having this discussion is there's basically a couple of points. It's your personal opinions on this and your beliefs on what they offer as a grant and a service, how that grant is written, how valid the grant request is, how complete the data is, how forthcoming with details they have been if we haven't had additional questions. We're also supposed to be keeping an eye on where these agencies interact with other agencies. So looking at the strategic whole picture of the island services and what these grants allow island residents to access is another important constraint, and how these different organizations interact, cooperate, or don't is another important thing to be on our table. The final point is that when these grants were initially put out, these grants were made to help jumpstart new programs. They have since evolved into partially to ongoing operational costs, which we are allowed to grant them, but the grants were, when initially put together, this body was to start grants for new programs or allow nonprofits to get over the hump. So those are all things we need to keep in mind when we start making our deliberations and start making our recommendations for the select board. That basically covers it for my primary issue here, or my primary ground rule setting. But I think that we need to, this is both, we can try as hard as we can to pull all of our personal feelings out of this and try and look at it as just a grant by grant basis, but we do need to be aware of both how those grants interact with the island service requirements and how they interact with each other. So those are all valid questions for us to bring up and valid things to discuss during our deliberations.
Thank you, Jericho. Okay, so as we start this, it was brought to our attention that there was possible funding available to the hospital for ambulatory care in fiscal year 2021 and fiscal year 2022. Jericho and I went and met with, after a discussion with some town, we went and talked with the hospital and asked them to please look into it and get back to us on that and on whether or not ambulatory care can be covered by insurance. The understanding was that this grant is under the Health and Human Services state budget, line number 4000-0300. And in it, it explicitly says for ambulatory care for Nantucket Cottage Hospital and Martha's Vineyard Hospital. I just got a response from somebody at the hospital in regards to our request and our questions to Sarah. And what they're saying to me is the ambulatory care costs $264,000, which actually is the full ambulatory care. It is not just the behavioral health. Behavioral health was less, it's 219, I believe. But that up until we asked, the hospital had received $100,000 from the state towards this care. But nobody that wrote the grant knew about it. That only through our inquiry did they even found out that the money had been there. And so I think it puts a question into, I'm sorry about that, everybody. It puts a question for us as to how much research have they done, or did they, are they doing it in the grant process, which is what Jericho and I asked. Are you actually going out and looking for grants? How much research are you doing to see what's available? I asked whether or not about fiscal year 2022, and they said to me, well, that the budget hasn't even been approved yet. And I said, no, the budget is approved for fiscal year 2022, and it is a line item in fiscal year 2022. And they said, well, we wouldn't even know what we would be able to get because they just gave it to us and they're not giving us many answers. I requested that they reach back out to the names of the individuals we had given them to ask about it, and make contact themselves to find out exactly how much will be available and how they apply or ask for the funding. So I just think that everybody should know, and I explained to them that it is their job when they get a grant to allow the town to know that that grant has been applied to or been accepted. It's part of the process. Even if they get the grant mid-year, they're supposed to let us know. But they said that the documentation is only coming around. She told me it just started within the last few days of them knowing that here on the island, knowing that they had received $100,000 towards the care. So I thought that everybody should know that. And if anybody has questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
I mean, wow.
Yeah,
How do they not know this?
I have no idea. To be honest with you, Joanna, it was tough because they called right when I was pulling in and right while I was going on Zoom, but I knew that we should have this answer before this meeting. And that's why I tried to get the answer from them. I asked them if they would be willing to come on and talk to us about that. And she said, well, I don't know if I'll be able to answer the questions everybody has.
So I just want to understand this in simple
Mhm.
terms. Somebody who works for, must be MGH, applied for a grant for ambulatory care for the hospital and nobody at the hospital knew about it.
They said to me, what happened is they received money that they didn't, the people that applied for the grant for Nantucket didn't know that MGH received money from this budget. They had no idea that it was there. That's what she's telling me, that they didn't know that they had received money towards the ambulatory care. And she asked me, she said, well, are you telling me that you're not going to fund us because you're finding this out, or that are you against it? And I said, no, that's not what I'm saying. Well, it's your job to let us know when you get grant money so that we know that it's available. And if you have access to it, our understanding is there's almost $400,000 available for this care to the two different hospitals. So did Martha's Vineyard know about it and apply for 300,000 of it? And Nantucket, we don't know. We have no idea. So
This is a problem.
yeah.
This one has always troubled me, how this is working with this one.
Yeah. So I'm going to let Brooke's hand was up before, and I'm going to, so Brooke, if you would please.
So I'm happy to elaborate. This was discovered by simply sending an email to our representative senator in Boston, and 4 days later an email came back saying that there was money available. And the reason I made the inquiry was that I was wondering, when they did their presentation, they said they had spent beyond the town grant for this off-island ambulance transport for behavioral health. And it occurred to me there might be COVID-related money because there's so much money coming through. And so I simply sent an email to Julian Sears' office and said, is there anything available? And the reply within a number of days was yes. And I was thinking about it as being supplemental to our grant in 2022 to help them cover what wasn't covered in our grant. I really wasn't thinking about it in terms of, wow, they could have funded all of this had they gone to the trouble of finding this grant and applying for it. So it there's a lot of different sort of reactions to this information. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's really curious. And to me, it speaks to the inner workings of Nantucket Cottage Hospital related to MGB and the lack of clarity about who's responsible for what in the financial picture that makes me very uncomfortable, because clearly, when we were in the interview with them and I was asking, how does the grant, Dorothy was asking, and we were there asking, how does the grant writing work? And it's really pretty unclear how our local hospital gets access to different sources of funding, either through MGB or outside of MGB, and to whom do they answer, and that they do answer to MGB in terms of not competing with other MGB affiliated hospitals for particular grants. And so that's a pretty complex financial relationship that I don't think we understand.
Yeah.
Joanna?
So as a person who manages grants for a living, right, we have something called a grant utilization report, right, which means that it is an Excel spreadsheet of every single grant that this organization gets and how much of it we've used to date, so that you can look at it anytime and understand what percentage you're at in the course of your year. A hospital should absolutely have some kind of a grants report where they can report on what money they took in any fiscal year and how much of it has been spent. I mean, this is a standard operating procedure.
And we always ask, have you gotten any other grants from anybody else, or are you applying for grants to anybody else? And for an organization like that, not to know, there's not a lot of great communication between us and NCH, Mass General, apparently.
But they should be
That's
able to produce a list. They should be able to produce a list of grants they receive.
Yep.
I agree.
My suspicion here is that the breakdown in communication was between NCH and MGB as much as anything else, but it's still a pretty, if the exact thing that they're requesting money for us is almost fully covered by existing budgetary thing, then that seems like it should be an issue that we bring up. Dorothy, you mentioned previously that there's a potential to delay the awarding of this particular grant while they determine if they can collect this money. But that was before you got this new information. Is that still something that is on the table?
It's not about, I'm sorry, Jericho, it wasn't about the grant, and I'll go back. It is about the
quarter two, right?
quarter two, whether or not we put out quarter two or not. And the thing is that for fiscal year 2022, they don't know what they're going to get. And that's why I talked to Brian. I did ask Brian Turbert, everybody, whether or not this grant this second quarter payment can be held until we're happy with the information we get. And we can approve every other one and hold off on quarter two until we're satisfied with the information that we get on the grant, which is what I personally would recommend that we do until I mean, they did give me one answer, but to be honest with you, I had to cut the call short to come into this meeting because of course the conversation was going on during the meeting. They don't know what they're going to get for fiscal year 2022 out of this, and that's what I'm asking them. I want to know what they're possibly going to get for fiscal year 2022. If they do get the money for fiscal year 2022, depending on what we can do, we can decide not to further the grant at a later date of the fiscal year 22 funds. And just so everybody knows, they would be returned to the town. They would not be open for any other thing but go into free cash for the town of Nantucket.
Are you talking about FY22 or FY23, which is what we're considering today?
No, we're talking about the quarterly reports, and that's why this came up, because it's on fiscal year 2022.
But do we think we're getting this again they're getting a grant for 2023, which impacts what we give them today?
The state has not come up with their budget for fiscal year 2023 yet. So that would be unfair for us to make that decision, but it's about fiscal year 2022 we're discussing right now.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just
My,
looking ahead.
okay, my opinion on this, and this is my opinion, would be that we hold off on the second quarter until we find out what they are getting in funding for fiscal year 2022. They are saying that it brings them to a deficit because it is a tremendous amount of money they spend on the ambulatory care. But I think that it's important that we, as they're in this year, find out whether or not they can get insurance reimbursement for some of it. Because nobody's actually, they don't know if they can, and there have been major changes in insurance laws. And there's some big changes right now in front of the US, in front of our state Senate. And how much they were actually going to get out of the money allocated in this year's budget. If now that they know about it, can they aggressively go after more of them funds? That's my opinion on it. Brooke?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting. If they got $100,000, how did that come to them? And did somebody apply? And how much did they apply for? Like, they don't even know this was happening behind the scenes.
They told me they just received monies. That's all they can answer for what
Right.
research they've done to date. And that was for fiscal year 2021.
That was 21. Okay.
They got 100,000. They just found out they got 100 towards fiscal year 2021, which isn't showing on any of our documents because they said they didn't even know they had it. So now that they know, I would like to know how much they can try to get for fiscal year 2022 prior to us approving the payments for fiscal year 2022 right now, if they have the ability to get some of the funding. Let's say that they can get 200 and it's cost them 260,000 and they have 200, then maybe we change it to 60,000 on that, or we not change it, but we pay the 60 with the idea that they've been able to fund it differently, or insurance has covered costs. I see Joanna.
I can't imagine. I mean, the hospital gets audited. I mean, you have to accept when somebody releases that kind of money, there's a procedure of how you accept it and record it. So this is troubling that we're far afield of this. And I support you, Dorothy, on holding back on the FY 2022 monies. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to give them monies if they don't even know that they're already getting monies for the same purpose and can't really explain it. But the hospitals, they have a board of directors. This is like, some of this is required reporting.
Does anybody else have any comment?
Yeah, I'm still kind of mystified.
Yeah.
They're halfway through FY 22 and they're just figuring this out.
Well, I would be honest to tell you that they wouldn't have found it if Brooke hadn't done her letter. But we did try to give them the opportunity, Jericho and I, to give us an answer prior to coming forward to all of you so that we could present it properly and give them time to research it and find out for us.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, I think we have introduced the information now, and I think we should move on to our deliberations. And when we hit NCH, we can revisit this particular topic. But I do think that this probably should impact how we look at the next year's grant. Honestly, so we should mention this again right when we're on deliberations for the I believe it's FY23 grant that we're discussing later.
Okay. So right now, though, we were in discussion about all the other, does anybody have any other question in regards to any of the other quarterly reports? And does everybody notice that Cape Mediation still has not used any funds?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. It's too bad if they don't end up using it, that it could have gone other places, but.
Well, that's why they didn't apply this year, I would assume.
Yeah, they can't get it. I think that's so unknowing what's going on in the courts. Okay, so if I can get Brooke,
Are you ready for a motion, Dorothy?
I am. I was going to ask for a
Okay.
motion.
So I move that we approve all the quarterly payments as submitted with the exception of Nantucket Cottage Hospital, pending further review of their grant situation in fiscal year 2022.
Second,
Okay, we're gonna do roll call. Brooke,
Aye.
Joanna,
aye.
Ruthie,
Yes.
Linda,
Yep.
Bert,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
thank you, guys. Okay, looking at our requests, everybody has them in front of them. You all got the worksheet this morning?
Yes. Thank you.
Yep. So we have a total of $888,635.24 in requests. Usually Joanna and Ruthie, usually what we find the best way to do is to look at the smaller numbered programs and discuss the smaller number programs and go from there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So we have, let's start off with South Coast Legal Services is requesting funding for $4,600. Anybody want discussion, make a motion?
I'll start out. I had mentioned the other day that if you go back and look at what everybody requested last year and how we ended up funding them, just throwing it out there. If we level fund everybody from last year, most of them are just slightly off from what they got last year.
Mhm.
And that would eliminate, Denise did this one time, that would eliminate a whole lot of wasted time. The only one I was concerned about, if we level fund, and I have all the figures in front of me here, would be NAMI ASAP. Because they got NAMI ASAP got 50,000 last year. They are asking for 150,000. A Safe Place was 70. They're asking this year, they got 55. Elder Services asking for 21, they got 20. South Coast Legal Fees asking for 4,500, they got 4,600 last year. Nantucket Cottage Hospital is 190 and change. We gave them 130 and change. Food Pantry asked for 80 this year. We gave them 70 last year. Health Imperatives asked for 120 this year. We gave them 90. MV Community Services asked for 18. They're asking for 18 again. Fairwinds asked this year for 191 and change. We gave them 176,000 and change. Small Friends asked for 20 this year. We gave them 15 last year. Artists Association is asking for 23,200. We gave them 18,200. Cape Mediation isn't in here. That all told up to what we had to give, the 650. If we did that, it would cut out a lot of wasted time. I don't even know where my phone is. I lost it somewhere in here. So ignore it for a minute. But it would leave NAMI about 100 grand short. I don't know how anybody feels about sort of working from there, other than starting with the little guys first.
I think there's a lot of discussion with some of the bigger ones, and I think I would like to see, before we go to level funding, that we look at the little ones and then go from there. And then look at the bigger ones, because some of the little ones are pretty easy.
You know, I do think Linda's approach is pretty good. I mean, we can certainly talk about the individual ones. I think that, yeah,
Brooke, you had your hand up?
I didn't,
go ahead.
Dorothy, is that okay?
yeah, but
NAMI's asking for something completely different from what they asked for last year. I don't think we should consider any kind of level funding or any kind of equivalent funding because it's a totally different program. I think we should be discussing it on its own merits.
Mhm.
I also recall that we sort of got halfway through the picking off the little ones last year, and I might ask that we sort of tentatively plug in numbers for those
Correct.
and then see where we end up rather than doing individual motions for each one. It's
Yeah,
sort
what
of
we
a
usually
technical
do is a
difference, but
Yeah, we do a worksheet, Brooke. So we'll go through it.
okay.
We'll just make suggestions. We won't make any motions. And then we'll go from there. No
Okay,
self
awesome.
anything. So I'd like to start, I'm gonna do with the little ones because we can go very quickly because I think there is discussion for a lot of them. So let's go. Legal services, they're requesting 4,600. I'm just gonna go down the line real quick. Brooke, I see you're a yay. Linda? Linda? Okay, I will go to
I'm
Ruth.
looking for a phone.
I had to go get that worksheet out of the printer.
Yes.
Okay, Ruth. Okay. Joanna?
Yes.
Bert?
Yes.
John? John?
You're muted, John.
Yes, I tried not mute.
Okay, Linda, are you back?
And she said yes.
Okay.
And then I'll just very briefly do the town's point of view on this, which is that this is a great program and we should level fund it or give them more money. I know you can't actually give them more money, but
Okay, the next one up is Martha's Vineyard Community Services. The request is for 18,000. Brooke?
I totally support this program.
Joanna?
Yes, same.
Ruthie?
Yes.
Linda?
Yep.
John?
Yes,
Bert?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to move on to Elder Services. They're asking for 21,000.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go down the line. Brooke?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Linda?
Yep.
Ruthie?
Yes.
Bert?
Yes.
John?
yes,
Dorothy, what was the first one we voted on?
We voted on the legal services for 4,600.
Dorothy, it's 45, it's 4,500.
Oh, it says 4,600 on this sheet.
Oh, okay, so it's 45.
4,500 last
45
year.
on my worksheet. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, you
Are we
have it-
talking about, sorry, this year's ask or last year's level funding when we're
this year's
doing-
ask, which she says
what-
it's 46,000. I thought it was 4,600 and she's saying it's 4,500.
Well, I have 46 on one sheet and 4,500 on another sheet.
the number is 4,500 is their ask for this coming.
That's what they
fiscal year.
got before. Okay,
Okay,
Thank
sorry.
okay.
We're going to Small Friends. Is requesting 20,000.
We got 15 last year.
Okay, I'm gonna ask, Brooke.
My only, was last year's ask based on that limited census that they have? Or
The limited
was
amount-
that,
Limited amount of students, is that what you're asking?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, it was,
Okay, so it's an equivalent ask from one year to the next based on the number of kids.
correct.
And they're at, and remind me, I'm sorry, I'm traveling, so it's a little hard for me I didn't bring all my paperwork with me
15,000 last year,
last year.
yes.
And the difference, the 5,000 was meant for,
It's for extended day, more extended day,
okay,
and part of their summer program.
yeah. I mean, I would be in favor of at least level funding and then holding like the increase maybe for, see where we end up with everybody else.
Okay, I'll move on to ask everybody. Does anybody, Linda?
Excuse me. Oh, can I just say one thing? They do not
Yes.
do extended day. They close at 3:30 because they don't have the staff. So
But
it's
part
for the summer program and the snack program.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Thank you for the clarification, Ann. Brooke, does that change your thought?
No, I
Okay.
just, that's just where I'm at the moment. So
Linda,
Yes,
Joanne,
I agree with Brooke.
Ruthie,
Yes.
John,
yes,
Bert?
Yes.
Okay. So we are looking at level funding right now, Small Friends at 15,000. Artists Association is asking for 23,2. Last year's request for the Artists Association was 18,2.
And I believe the increase is also correlated with an increase in the number of projected people served.
Right, which is,
Good. It's very good.
I'm gonna go, Brooke, I'm gonna use you number one each time, okay? Be prepared.
okay.
So wait, go that way, it's easy for me.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be too much of a lead in terms of the thought, but I love this program, and I think that it's unique and different, and it gives people access to therapeutic support that they wouldn't find in anything else in the community. So I would favor the full ask for this year.
Okay,
for
Ruthie,
AAN.
Ruthie,
Yes.
Favor it as well.
Linda,
I love this program.
is that a yes?
Yep.
Joanna,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
John?
yes,
Okay, that's $23,200 that we have agreed on for that program. So going forward, we have the next one up is going to be A Safe Place, which is asking for 70,000. It was level funded for previous years at 50,000. I will make one interjection here to make sure everybody knows the increase that the Safe Place has asked us involves the fact that they are losing 35% of their funding from the federal government towards therapeutic care, and that's where they're hoping to apply these funds. I don't know if everybody remembered that. I just wanted to make sure that was out there. And I will go down the roll call with, I'm going to change it. I'm going to put Joanna first.
Sure, give me the hard one. No, I support the 70,000. I do. I think it's really important.
Okay, Linda. Was that a yay, Linda? Sorry, guys. Linda, was that a yay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, hard to hear you. Ruthie,
Yes.
Brooke,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because Jen said they don't know, they've been told to anticipate a 35% cut, but they don't know. It hasn't actually been stated. So I'm wondering, is there a way to make this contingent on if they don't see that much of a cut,
No,
this would be reduced? No, it
no,
wouldn't.
there's not.
Okay.
No.
All right. So then I'm in favor of the whole amount.
Okay,
plus they have said that they have, because of the pandemic in particular, they've seen a pretty significant increase for services.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just trying to use whatever bucket of money we can get, for
Yeah.
for everybody. Yeah.
every penny.
Need a
Every-
bigger bucket, Joanna. Need a
Um,
bigger bucket.
Yes, we do.
Bert,
Yes.
John?
yes,
Okay, thank you, guys. So we've said that we are going to 70,000 is what we're thinking of allocating towards A Safe Place. We're going on to the Interfaith Council at 80,000 and down the line. Joanna, you got it again.
I think I would be for level funding them at the 70,000.
Okay, Linda,
Same.
Ruthie,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
John
Yes.
and Brooke.
Yep.
Okay. Hold on, I'm just trying to calculate where we're at.
221, 700.
See that 200 there.
Okay, the next one up is for
Health
discussion.
imperatives.
Is- Thanks, everybody. Is health imperatives. Last year, just to verify, just so everybody knows, health imperatives was funded at 90,000. They're asking for 120,000 from us. And I'm gonna have discussion start with Linda.
Well, I think we should fund them. We're down to the big ticket items now, Fair Winds, Health Imperatives, and NCH and NAMI. I approve of giving them money. It's a question of how we're going to divide up these four big guys. So I'm loath to say fully fund any of the remaining four, because I think we need to sort of figure out how we're going to allocate funding. But I'm in favor of funding all four of them. It's just a question of how much. So I can't say to give them a full, the full ride at 120 when we don't know how we're going to split up the other three.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of it, but I can't say I'm in favor of 120 without talking about all four of them.
Okay, so are you asking that we go into discussion about all four right now, Linda?
Yes, I think that's the only way to go, because these are big, 400,000 in change of what we have left.
Correct. We have $428,300 left in our pot. Okay.
And that's,
So,
we got to figure out how to divide that. Ooh.
Okay, so Linda is asking that we go ahead in discussion. Can I get, is everybody in favor of that? Joanna,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ruthie,
Yes.
Brooke?
Yep.
Bert?
Yes.
Okay, let's go into discussion. I'm gonna have everybody talk about what they believe and then we'll come in, okay? Please don't interrupt anybody else when they're speaking, okay? Ruthie, I'm gonna let you go first.
I agree
Ruthie-
with Linda. I don't think they should get,
No, Ruthie, what we're gonna do is we're gonna discuss all four. These are the four that are on the table. I'm not sure if you have the paper in front of you or not. We have the Cottage Hospital requesting 190,458.24. We have Health Imperatives requesting 120,000. We have NAMI requesting 150,000. And is that it, right? Health Imperatives 120, Cottage Hospital, yep.
Fair winds.
Fair Winds, oh, 191,477. Okay, go ahead.
I think they should get 90,000.
Okay, but the discussion is we're gonna discuss all four. How do you feel about all four of them?
I think all of them should get it.
Okay. Okay, Linda,
I'm gonna go back to what I said at the beginning. Level funding, at least the three of them. The one that's the biggest problem is ASAP NAMI, because last year we gave the hospital 130, as I said, and change, and we gave Health Imperatives 90, and Fair Winds 176. That leaves about 50,000 for ASAP NAMI. That's where I'm having the biggest problem, is how to give them more than 50,000, considering they're the biggest jump from what they got last year is NAMI. Everybody else is within, 30,000 or so, 60,000 of what they got last year.
I think it's important to remember what Joanne, that we are looking at a different program here. It's a completely different thing. than
Oh, I know, and that's why it's concerning me how to cut the hospital
Can
and
somebody
how to
mute
cut.
their phone?
I think that's probably Ann's office or Jericho's office. But it concerns me how to cut the hospital, how to cut Fair Winds, and how to cut, what's the other one here? Health Imperatives. and give more money to NAMI to cover the new program. So I was struggling with who to cut more, because all of them are meeting a direct need, health imperatives in particular. I would cut health imperatives least from their ask, and then figure out how to deal with Fairwinds, the Cottage Hospital, especially given what we've just heard, and give more money to NAMI. I don't see any way possible of funding all 4 of them fully, clearly. And I don't see it possible giving NAMI 150 grand, a full ask. So I'm struggling with who to cut of those other 3 to give NAMI more money. So Joanna may have a better idea, Brooke may have a better idea, but that's where I'm struggling, as to how to reapportion and not kill somebody else in order to get NAMI more money. But they're not, as far as I'm concerned, none of them are getting the full ask, but the closest to full ask for me is health imperatives.
Okay, I'm gonna go to John.
Well, I think Linda has really summarized very well what my way of feeling, and I don't think I have much to add to it, because I think she did a pretty good job of coming out where my instincts go without being able to really articulate who should get what.
Okay, thank you. Bert,
I haven't made a decision yet, but I
would you
don't
like me
think
to come back to you?
what?
Would you like me to come back to you after you hear other people?
Sure, yeah, I haven't made a decision, so go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Joanna.
Okay, what if we level fund Fairwinds? Okay, we give health imperatives 110. I have a question about NAMI, so I'm going to come back to them. I'm going to go to the Cottage Hospital next. What if we give them $100,000? Half.
Go on.
Because I'm thinking that if they're, based on everything I heard this morning, it seems like they're able to get at least half of what they're asking for on their own. It really does. And then the rest of it, what is left for NAMI, Dorothy, if we do it that way?
I don't know, I'll tell you in a minute. You want to give Fairwinds 170,000?
No, 110. You said 110.
No,
No,
fair,
it's
no.
110 to, she said 110 to
For
Health
health imperative.
imperative. Yeah,
100
I want to level fund Fairwinds. So I've knocked them to like 20-something thousand off their request or close to it. Then I want to give the hospital 100.
Okay.
And then I want to know what's left for NAMI. And I just have a question about NAMI.
Well, ask your question as we're
So my
trying to.
question is, I saw that that email we got this morning from the NAMI person and about the therapists. And here's my question. Can we see a list of the therapists and know where they live? Right? Because,
Probably not.
well, could we know where they live?
They're all in Nantucket. Are you asking that?
Yes, that's
They're
what
all, they're all island residents, and they have private practice on the island.
and they're therapists, like whatever. Okay.
They are.
Okay. Okay.
I know 2 of the therapists are 2 people that left Fairwinds that went out in private practice.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that they lived here and the money is going here. So how much is left for NAMI then?
Hold on.
48,300. I put Fairwinds at 170. Was that the actual amount?
No, 176.
Okay.
But I would be
323 last year.
I'd be good with 176.
So that leaves 42,300 according to my spreadsheet.
No, it should be more because there should be $30,000 from the 100.
No, there's not more when you do that.
Mm-mm. So what I have, Joanna, is 70 for a safe place, 21 for elder services, 4,500 for South Coast Legal, 100 for NCH,
Yep.
70 for interfaith, 110 for health imperatives, community MVY community services 18, Fairwinds 176, Small Friends 15, Artists Association 23.2. So that leaves 43
No, 41,000, right?
40, well, unless I'm doing it in a spreadsheet, so theoretically,
And no,
It
I've got a
should.
different amount also.
what
got
is the amount we have? 650, right?
Yep.
I
Okay,
came up with 41,977, but that's, I mean, I could be wrong.
okay, what is that? Probably because
Let's-
the actual amount,
Hold on, let's take a half step back here and get a definitive answer for how much we've got outlaid right now. If you want to feed me line by line, what we're estimating giving out, what we've confirmed giving out.
Well,
So,
we've
for example,
given out is
safety-
221,700. We gave 70,000.
Let's just-
All right,
70,000
can we
to
start at
say-
the top of
let's,
the
yeah,
list?
let's just start,
I
let's start
am right
fresh.
now. I am right
so-
now.
So read
Okay.
them out to me and I'll put them into the,
I am.
okay, so we'll start. The first one is
70,000 for Safe Place. 21,000 to Elder Services. 4,500 to Legal Services. 70,000 to the Interfaith Council. 18,000 to Martha Vineyard Community Services. 15,000 to Small Friends. 23,200 to the Artists Association.
23, 200.
Which leaves,
We are
So-
at 221,700,
what is it?
221,700.
And that leaves us
Okay.
$428 to $428,300. $428,300.
Okay, and what did you want to give, the 110
Yeah,
to
there
health
was
imperatives?
The other estimation would give out 386. Oh, well, the other estimation of money, the three that have been recognized would be an additional 386,323, which would only leave 41,000 for NAMI.
So I mean, this is a problem. All right,
Yeah.
let's try to figure this out here. So I do think cutting the hospital to $100,000 makes sense. So let's start with them at the base. If we could cut Fairwinds 160. Right, so that's 260. Then we have health imperatives that we could take to 100. That's giving them 10,000 more. That's 360. And then what's left for NAMI?
Don't forget the hospital.
I
Yeah,
did
we-
100,000.
Okay,
Hold on one second. So we're doing 100,000 to
100,000 to the hospital, 160 to Fairwinds, 100 to health imperatives, and what does that leave NAMI?
hold on.
well, that's 360,000 minus the 428.30.
No, 300.
So we're gonna do 100,000 for the
Mhm.
hospital. We're gonna
Yeah.
do 170 for
No,
the, for
160.
160 for Fairwinds.
And then 100 to health imperatives.
Because it's at 360.
Yeah.
360 minus 428.3 gives us about 60K.
So we're still not really
68,300.
yeah,
68,000.
Which is a little more than a third of what they asked for.
What if we took the Artist Association down to 20? That gives us $3,200. They'll be able to raise that difference.
They can't. They said they
They
can't.
can't. They said they can't. I went over that with them in detail and so did Dorothy.
Yeah.
And
they can't.
I'm also a little curious as to why the bigger ask from NAMI, like NAMI's shortfall shouldn't come out of Artists Association funding, is sort of my brain on that.
Okay.
Well, I think that it can come out of wherever we decide it comes out of when we go through the process. That's how the process works. No offense to anybody, but this is how the process works. I saw that Brooke had her hand up, and Brooke, I wasn't not acknowledging you. I was allowing the people on the floor to continue, but Brooke,
Maybe
Brooke?
it's a better idea.
yeah. So you ready for me? I still have concerns about the level of financial transparency of this NAMI request.
Yeah.
Overall, they're making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
It's not a program that has had financial transparency and record keeping in its first iteration. They've, shot out a policy to therapists about sliding scale and this and that based on our feedback. That makes me very uncomfortable, given the level of financial scrutiny we're putting other organizations through. I'm not sure they're ready for tax dollar funding, and that they're prepared to have the level of financial scrutiny that I think we should be expecting from a program such as this, especially in comparison to what we ask for from Health Imperatives and Fairwinds and A Safe Place. So I actually am uncomfortable funding them at all. And that's just where my head is at for that reason. It's not a gray area of how much, it's whether we should at all or not. And I recognize the value of the service they're providing. Don't get me wrong, getting people into therapy is really, really important. But I think we should be consistent about the level of financial scrutiny we expect from organization to organization. And that's really, that's a game changer in terms of what's available for the other programs, in my mind. And I just wanted to throw that out there for discussion. So,
Dorothy, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
After reading their email this morning, at the moment, let's put it that way, are they acting more like a clearinghouse or a referral service to the private sector? As opposed to, because I took both trainings. I've had both trainings from NAMI, but that was some years ago.
So
Are they acting as a referral service more at the moment until they really get geared up, or am I just sort of simplifying it?
Yeah, I think you're simplifying it. So what it is they do have a call center you can call in for people that need emergency therapeutic care or therapeutic care, and they put them in touch with the therapist. What they're doing is funding. There are 9 therapists in their program who offer free or sliding scale services to residents of the island. They work in conjunction with Fairwinds. The program was funded through a federal grant the last year. They are servicing, I think they have 90 clients in the program right now, which is a pretty good number. Both therapists and patients are giving high regards back to the program. But as far as I know, it's a sliding scale with 9 private clinicians on the island. And they submit to NAMI for funding for the programs on the sliding scale. Does that help, Linda?
Well, that sort of proves my point. That they're referring out to their group of therapists. And I'm sort of caught between, because they took over ASAP. And I'm sort of going back and forth with agreeing with Brooke to some extent. But we funded ASAP every year, but this is not really geared to the ASAP part of this. It's geared to the sliding fee scale, which is what we help pay for at Fairwinds.
Right.
I don't know. I'm sort of going back and forth on this.
Right.
I think that, Joanna, you can talk.
I was hoping to try to get them to half of their request, but if we can't, we're never going to get to $150,000. And I agree with Brooke and Linda, because I also see NAMI as a player in the Gosnold scenario, which isn't a stable situation, so to speak. So I do see them as a player in that. And I would agree that it's probably the riskiest organization that we're giving money to, aside from this information we heard today about the hospital. But if we could get them to 60 or even to level fund them at 55, I think that's fine. And I think we can say to NAMI, you have to, in conjunction with probably the same deliberation we're going to have about the Gosnold pieces, at least in my opinion, because these things are all related. Once you're here for a year and you've delivered the programs consistently, then we can look at giving you more money.
Okay, I'm gonna ask anybody else if they have comments. Anybody? Bert or
I'm
John?
okay with the 55.
Okay, Linda, I'm asking Bert or John.
Oh, I didn't hear that, who you're asking.
All right.
I'd be in favor of 55 for NAMI.
John?
So I had to leave for a minute, so I'm not sure I know what I'm
Okay,
asked to vote on.
that's fine. I'm not asking you to vote. I'm just opinions here right now. Ruthie?
You're asking if we should vote for 55,000 for them?
I'm just asking you your opinion on it. Do you have an opinion on it?
I'm unsure right now.
Okay, thank you.
So if I might offer up my personal and the town sort of point of view on this is that my main issue here is a systemic one, that I'm looking at this funding and I'm looking at the healthcare resources and I see a lion's share of it going to a few small groups. And in my head, that looks like centralized points of failure. One of the things that I am concerned about is that if we have all our eggs in one basket sort of situation, and I know that we're looking at a specific shortfall of funding and a shaky recent history from NAMI, specifically on last year's, like carryover from last year's, and then the increase in funding rates of this year.
Wait a minute, but Jericho, can I just interject here?
Of course.
NAMI has not failed on their presentation for their NAMI grant from the town of Nantucket within the human service contract.
No,
Not-
absolutely. But
And
I
that has to
think,
be made very clear, that they have stuck to what they are asked and performed within their NAMI grant for the town human service contract. Okay, go
Mhm.
on. Go on.
no, agreed. Yeah, they have not failed by but I think that we all, nearly everyone on this, in this call has some concerns about how the finances are working on the NAMI side of things. But I also think that the kind of expenditures for a new project that has a distinct need, that there's been a difficulty in getting funded, I think that also should be mentioned. I'm not suggesting one way or the other on the amount of this grant. I'm just pointing out from my point of view, we seem to be focusing putting a lot of our eggs in one basket. That's all.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, I really think it's important that we all have feelings about what's going on with the cannabis grant, but it's important to keep within parameters. They have not shown us, I do not believe we have seen anything from NAMI on the regular grant and ASAP grant that is inappropriate, or that they have not had proper funding within that program that they're presenting to the town under the human service contract, which is very important. We're talking about the human service contract right now for their services, and they've abided by, since taking over the ASAP, their contract with us there. And I think that that really has to be clear when we go into this. So I personally do believe that they should be getting funding. I question the hospital funding, and would recommend, I would go with Joanna's recommendations as a fair way of a beginning step for NAMI in this program, as a beginner in the program. I question the Cottage Hospital as to whether or not they are going to get further funding and whether insurance will come into play. And because the only key with everything we find here is that if people don't use the funds, they don't go back in any human service programs. And if they're misused, we're in trouble. So I would go with the allocation of, or make the recommendation that we go to a 100,000 for health imperatives. The 160, I believe, for Fair Winds. And
100 for NCH.
yeah, I actually have problems with NCH getting in 100,000 if in fact there's 200,000 that could be available from last year, and we'll have this money that's going to end up back in the human service, back in town pool because they didn't do their homework.
I'd rather give them 100 than not give them anything, and they have, for some odd reason, not have anything to put towards that.
Yes,
program.
that's
I
why.
would can I finish my recommendation, then everybody can talk? And then I would delegate the rest of the funds towards the NAMI project. I just think we have to give everybody a fair shot to do it, as with any starter program. And that's my opinion. So so we have a couple of recommendations out there. We can go with the last one on the table. Well, one was from Brooke that we not fund NAMI at all, or we have the one from, so if somebody wants, and then we have the other one on the table, which was Joanna's, that would give NAMI some funding. And 100,000 would go to the Cottage Hospital, 100,000 to Health Imperatives, 160,000 to Fair Winds.
I could do that one.
I'm confused with giving money to NCH if they don't have a complete if we don't have a complete understanding with where the funds are going, who is going to. I just think we should get a full understanding before even giving any money.
We know where it's going though.
Yeah, but they
Ruthie, I think I agree what Ruthie is saying, I believe, and if Ruthie, if I'm out of context, Ruthie is saying that she has a difficulty with the idea that Nantucket Cottage Hospital might not know where their funding is coming from or where it's going to, in the sense that if we give them $100,000 and they don't have an idea of what's going on in-house right now, why would we be giving them 100,000? Linda's viewpoint on that, Ruthie, had been that if we don't give them 100,000 and they don't get any funding, what will happen to the ambulatory program? And Joanna's feeling on that, if I'm correct, was we know that they can at least get 100,000, so that she would vow that we give them 100,000 to help cover the other costs. And if I was incorrect, anybody, you can fix it, but I think I got that.
Very good, Dorothy.
So that's where we stand. The only thing, like, I'm going to put out there for everybody is, you know, it looks like we've got a tough decision to make here. But we have some on the table. So I will put a motion forward. I can't put a motion forward. I would like somebody to put a motion forward for either one of the scenarios, if you're ready, on the table.
I'll try it. I'll put a motion forward with what Joanna said, which would give us 100 grand for NCH, 160 for Fairwinds, 100 grand for Health Imperatives, and I believe 68,300 for NAMI.
58.
I think it's 68,000.
68,300.
Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, because I had changed. Okay.
Yeah, you
So
changed that one.
100,000 to Health Imperatives?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Make sure my spreadsheet's working.
Yeah, I opt for pen and paper.
Okay.
Okay.
If
Brooke, did you get it in there?
yeah, that adds up. May I suggest a tweak? Is that a motion or should for discussion?
No,
or
Linda has a motion on the table.
okay.
What
there
is
a second? Is there-
Well, I'll second it and then we can discuss. Okay,
Okay, now I'm gonna go back. Linda?
I thought she wanted to talk
Aye.
about a friendly amendment first, before we
Yes.
vote. Before we
Okay.
vote, we need to go to the friendly amendment first.
So, I'd like to see health imperatives get a little more than 100. I'd like to see them at 110. I just was so impressed by my visit there, and I know they too treat a group of people that have nowhere else to go. And so that would be my only recommendation, is that we shift 10,000 from NAMI to increase health imperatives to 110. So
I'll
NAMI would be
accept that.
58.3.
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment, and
I,
Joanna has to accept it as a friendly for her second.
I will too.
So
Okay.
health imperatives would be what now?
110.
so we're gonna look at one organization and give them a quarter of their requests or a third of their requests. And
For all the
everybody.
reasons we said before.
I'm just asking, and everybody else is getting almost full funding or close to it?
The hospital's getting half.
Yeah, but we know why the hospital's getting half. Like, let's be honest about that. I'm just gonna say that I think health imperatives, I've been a huge supporter of health imperatives all the way along the line from the day they started. And advocated. I think they're one of the most amazing organizations on the island. But I would still stick at 100,000 for them and give NAMI a little bit more leeway to try to make their program work. To try to endorse a program that's already out there and working and has been working this year, that they're now coming to the town for funding for.
So you want health imperatives to go back to,
I would keep 100 health imperatives at 100,000. I've been one of their biggest advocates. I believe in the program, but I also believe that we have to give NAMI a shot at this.
so NAMI would be still at 58.3 or 68.3?
68.
Now, if there's no further discussion, I'd move the vote.
To what though?
The vote is still,
We're voting on these numbers.
yeah, the motion is still at 58,110 though. The original motion was 68,100. Dorothy's advocating for the 68,100. And we just accepted a friendly amendment to go to 58,100. So we're stuck with, where is that 10? What we're talking about right now is, where is that 10,000 going?
Right, well, we could do a straw vote and then we could revise the motion, because I could really go either way.
Same here.
If we're looking at, and pardon me for interjecting here, but if we're looking at 10 grand difference, could we not slice a number of smaller amounts off of the lesser grant requests to even that out?
I'm not in favor of that.
Hold on,
Understood.
because Jericho, the smaller numbers are really asking us for what they
When I
do,
say,
paying for their buck. I just feel that that's not fair to take from them.
when I say that, I mean, if we could take like 1,000 off of a couple of the smaller ones, and by smaller ones, I mean the 50K and plus ones, that might be less of an impact on operations than that.
What about 10,000 more off the hospital?
Uh,
Bring them down to 90, because they asked for 190. What's half of 190? 95? Right? I mean, it's $10,000.
Is that
I'm
gonna,
not in favor of touching any of the little guys at all.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah,
would then, do we believe the 10K, do we believe that the 10K difference for the hospital would make or break their ambulatory care program?
We don't know.
Listen, I think giving the hospital less money is a message. It's a very clear message that you guys are mucking up, right? And we found something out at the last minute that compromised your request. And as a result, we didn't feel comfortable giving you your full amount, right? I mean, this is not a small amount of money, right, that we're talking about. I mean, this is just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they had gotten the appropriate funding, they could have possibly funded the program for 2 years without any assistance from the town, and other programs could have benefited from it.
Correct.
A
So
huge,
it does feel a little bit,
yeah,
yeah.
there's a huge amount of money that over the years we've,
Right.
delegated to them.
in good faith.
In very good faith. Okay, so
Dorothy,
yes, Brooke. I'm
may
sorry,
I?
my screen doesn't show you all the time, so I apologize.
I'm
Um,
hiding in the shadows today, Dorothy.
Okay.
I agree. I say take the 90,000 and give it to NAMI, and then we would be at 68.3 for NAMI, 90 for the hospital, and 110 for health imperatives among the three we've just been talking about.
Is that another friendly amendment?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll accept it. Joanna, you need to accept it.
Me too.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so we're gonna make a vote on this amendment, and with this added friendly amendment, and that would be as, I'm gonna read them all off, everybody, okay?
Okay.
Safe place funding at 70. Sorry. A safe,
I gotta get,
Bert,
You
you're
need
on.
to mute.
Bert, you gotta mute, Handsome. Uh-oh, I might get in trouble.
Aye, yes.
You. Okay, a safe place, 70,000. NAMI would be 68,300. Elder Services at 21,000. South Coast Legal Services at 4,500. Nantucket Cottage Hospital at 90,000. The Interfaith Council at 70,000. Health Imperatives at 110. Martha's Vineyard Community Services at 18,000. Fair Winds at 160. Small Friends at 15, and Artists Association at 23,200.
Now, somebody needs to add that to make sure that's exactly where we are.
it's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
Excel did it for me.
and then we need to ask the town for more money.
Well, I hear that a selectman's already asked that. So somebody
I'll
want
make
to
a
make,
motion that we accept those figures
As read by, yes.
as read, as just eliminated.
okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, I'm gonna go through roll call. Ruthie, you get to be number one.
I'm always number one. Yes.
Good attitude. John,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes,
Linda,
Yep,
Joanna,
yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Dorothy, yes. Okay, great job, everybody. You just allocated $650,000.
Well done.
Okay,
Before we go, I just want to compliment both Joanna and Brooke and Dorothy for really drilling down and helping me understand and helping us all understand how we should allocate our priorities. I think this is one of the most productive meetings, final meetings of allocation that I can remember in my period of time on this committee. Just my observation.
thank you, John, but we're not done yet, handsome.
Well, I know we have the canamas to do, so.
Okay.
So
And
I'm
I
not-
would-
You might have a different opinion when we're done, so I think you should wait. Okay,
it's gonna be far less peaceful on this one.
it's gonna be very, very interesting.
Yeah,
Dorothy,
Yes, Bert.
I would second John's comments.
Thank you, Bert.
I agree with him.
Okay. We're gonna go on to the cannabis grant, everybody. Great job on the.
Dorothy,
Yes,
can
ma'am.
we take a 5-minute bio break?
Yes, go right ahead. Everybody can take a 5-minute break. It's 11:30. Everybody back at 11:35. Everybody okay with that?
I'm taking a food break.
I'm just gonna go down. I'll be right back.
We all should mute our computers, however.
Why, Linda?
As we're hearing things.
We're just waiting for Joanna. And maybe Bert. And
I'm
Jericho.
back.
Everybody's got a minute. We're still waiting on Jericho. He's not back yet. Not that Jericho has to be back. Linda, are you back? Maybe not. Linda? Ruthie?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.
I'm back.
Okay, great. Oh, Jericho has two things up. Jericho, are you here? Well, we can start without Jericho discussion. He doesn't have to be here for discussion to begin.
Before we even start, Dorothy, given how much money's come back to this town, are we sure we're limited to only the 100 grand, or is there more money out there?
As far as I know, we are at 100,000. I can verify in like 2 seconds, but I don't think that's changing.
Yeah, that's what my big question is, because I don't know why we're limited to 100 grand when there's a lot more that came back to this town.
Well, because some of the funding was designated in the original taxation to go to part of the municipality for things.
Right, but is there more money they can give to this? Since this is what's, I don't hate the whole subject of marijuana, but, and the fact that we're reaping a benefit from, I can't stand the dispensaries, but that's just my personal prejudice. I've seen too much trouble with this. But the issue is, to me, if that is what's generating the funding, why aren't we getting more of the share? Since the problem is being generated by these marijuana things. And why aren't these people that are dealing directly with substance abuse, why aren't we getting more of that pie? That's what irritates me about the whole thing too. The whole thing irritates me, but that's what really gets my craw. Maybe
Okay.
Joanna can answer that because she's a FinCom, but that's just been my problem with this from the beginning. Why aren't we getting a larger portion of this since we're generating the money for this problem with addiction?
I also thought there was a different formula. So I wrote to Brian, but I haven't heard back.
Is that comforting or that's not comforting?
I just thought there was a different formula that we were following. And I think that the town I think that there's a percentage, I want to say it was, I don't know, I'm making this up, like 2.6%. So I would like to know how we got to $100,000, right? Like I would just like to know the path to the $100,000.
Did they just throw that number out because it was an easy number to give us? Or
I don't know.
are we not doing it correctly? And that really irritates me.
I know that one of the two dispensaries has been largely shut down over the course of the year, so
For good reason.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm not arguing that at all. I'm just saying that I think the total revenue was less than anticipated, and Dorothy, correct me on this, I see you're back on, but that the number that we're given, we don't have the exact complete total number yet. I think there's still some sales to be addressed, but I might be misunderstanding that.
I'm in a conversation with Brian Turbert. If you don't mind, I'll let you know as soon as I get. He's calling me. So hold on, guys.
I wrote him too.
Late breaking news there.
Oh, the fun ride to budget and town meeting every year, right, Joanna?
Yes, yes.
It's
Especially,
the roller coaster, baby.
especially on this issue. I'm never going to not be irritated by this whole issue.
Well, it's a roller coaster regardless of the issue. Remember housing last year?
Oof.
I hate profiting off of something that causes so much pain. I just hate it. I hate the whole thing. I had too many kids that I've worked with that get involved with this and just waste away. And they can't tell me that it's not a waste away. It is. Nobody
Well,
uses the
that's-
word gateway drug anymore, but it, that's debatable in itself. It always has been. But this whole
Joanna, do you,
issue
re-
of this-
Yes, yes.
do you remember the process by which it was determined? Like,
Okay, can I explain what it is? I just got off
Sure.
Brian. What it is the tax dollars, as the formula was designed, it was designed that 50% of the tax dollars would go into this fund.
my apologies.
That's okay. So 50% of the tax dollars would go into it. So right now they're estimating that there will be $200,000 in tax money, 100,000 of it going into the cannabis.
I think that's a little low, frankly, given the amount of traffic the other one has generated.
Well, I think what it is that if we have an issue, this is not the time or place right now for us to fix it. Well, what we know is we have $100,000. We can ask town management why it was designated that only 50%, but I don't think we can do that right at this moment.
Right. I mean, I'm personally like, it's nearly impossible that it would be an even number. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
come on.
Yeah, how about that? How about that one? Yay.
That seems unlikely, but okay, we'll work with it.
I think it's, well, we all know it's very unlikely, but the idea is that if that's what they're estimating, they're going to give us as a round number.
Yeah.
We're going to go with that number. And I think if we have questions about why it's only 50% of it, it was what was voted on town floor, and we should then bring it up on town floor
Yeah, that's fine.
amendment.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to waste time on that discussion right now. We can't change it right this moment.
Well, I'm duly irritated.
Okay. Well, at least we got an answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the discussion is up. We have 3 organizations in front of us for funding. One is Addiction Solutions and the other is Gosnell, the other Fair Winds. Jericho, are you here? Yeah,
Yes,
Jericho,
I am. Am I not showing up on the video?
you just did. I'm sorry. It
No worries.
was blank and then it did. You're on here twice. That's why I have a problem with it.
Sorry.
That's okay. I do have a question before we go forward with this. Did we ever get a response on my questioning to you about Addiction Solutions?
We did not.
Okay. I heard tentatively, whether or not this is correct or not, but I heard tentatively that, so my question to everybody was, at one point, we could not fund Narcan being given out by Fair Winds as the medication. What they're asking us to do at Addiction Solutions is to help with staffing, which is different than providing the medication itself. And from what I understood from my questions so far from town, is that as long as it's not the distribution of the drug itself, but the staffing, and it is covered under his malpractice insurance, then right now it's okay. Where Narcan was the distribution of it, when Fair Winds was doing it outside of our contract, we had to make them stop because we had not okayed that, nor was the distribution of a drug through a grant okay.
So we are waiting back for final confirmation with town council. As it was left with town admin, we have, this does not run into any of the concerns from last time. So we don't have a definitive, it's no problem, but it does not look like it's the same liability exposure that the Narcan was. This is a continuing project or program that has already been up and running, and we were just supplementing it with non-direct drug-related issues. So we should not have the same liability issues that we did before, but because I am extremely bad at sussing out insurance-related stuff, I was waiting on a complete confirmation from town council. It should not be, town admin's position right now is that this should not be an issue for this particular grant.
We just wanted everybody, we just checked into that because we didn't want to if we voted upon a grant, then have to say, sorry, we can't do it, you know. So we just wanted to cover all of our bases on that grant. So that everybody knows, okay? So we're having a discussion right now on these 3 grants. And on the 3 organizations. Do we want to discuss the organizations? What do we want to do? I'm going to let it start with Bert Johnson, because you have so much wisdom.
Thank you. And I'll send that money over right away.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
With all 3 of these, my initial thought was just to divide the 100,000 grant in thirds and give each one a third of it.
Okay. Any reasoning behind that?
Yeah, they're all good programs. You know, the Addiction Solutions is the newest one, but you know, I'd like to see if there's anything left over to give it to Addiction Solutions to get them started.
Well, not started. That would be maintaining them. They've been up and running for 10 years. Okay, John? John? Hey, John?
I just unmuted. I moved my mouse the wrong place. I'm in favor of giving Addiction Solutions maybe half of this and dividing the rest of it however we want to divide it. I'm really partially, I know I was given some insight into this at the time when, as a Rotary member, we raised money to initially get this going with Dr. Leprey's office. And I just feel that it is a particularly direct outreach. And I'm interested in it, perhaps also influenced by the fact that occasionally I listen to our local radio station, and he goes directly on clearly a place where his message can get out to a group of people that will not necessarily get it through any other institutional means. And maybe this is more instinctual than analytical, but that's where I'm coming out.
Okay. Ruthie?
I'm in favor of giving to each one, maybe splitting it, mostly for Addiction Solutions, only because of what I've seen with the outcome of some patients. I've seen them have a turnaround for the better, as opposed to some others where they would continually come back and forth with no real resolution. So that's my take.
Okay. Linda?
I am still unbelievably skeptical about Gosnold. I'd like to see them prove themselves. I'd like to see them get the foot in the door and be committed here, all on their own. And I'm a big proponent of Addiction Solutions and Fairwinds as an adjunct to that. That's why I was asking if we had more money for this, and we should. Fairwinds and Addiction Solutions are dealing with something even more egregious than pot. They're dealing with severe addictions. And I personally would like to see the whole thing go to Addiction Solutions, but I understand the argument to be made to give them 50 and Fairwinds 50. But I'm not giving Gosnold a single cent as far as my vote's concerned. So that's pretty much where I am right now.
Okay, Joanna?
I have similar concerns about Gosnold in terms of their commitment to Nantucket and their ability to stay here over the long term. So I would be more inclined. I just don't know what we're going to get really from an investment there. But I also recognize that perhaps some sort of show of good faith to them would be an investment in that. So maybe I'm going to make a suggestion that we do 40, 40, and 20, or 44, 45, 45, and 10, so that there is some sort of money given to them. Because I think that Linda's right. They do kind of have to prove that they can stay here for a year. And I would hate to invest in a program that didn't make it off the ground, because these other two organizations are doing what they're doing, right, actively.
Okay, Brooke? Brooke?
Yeah. Sorry, unmuting and collecting my thoughts. I'm betwixt and between on this, and I'll try to explain why. I feel as though each of these programs serves a different population of people through a different part of their recovery process.
Yes.
So I love the idea that we have 3 distinct steps in recovery represented in these programs. The challenge to me is evaluating the likelihood of survival of each program over the long term, which sort of speaks to what Linda and Joanna have said about Gosnold. Now, they took half a year to get up and running. They will, in essence, take what was meant to fund 50% of a full year's programming and utilize it for half a year's programming, and have asked us to continue then to also fund 50% of their programming for the following year. I like the 40, 40, 20. 40 Fairwinds, 40 Addiction Solutions, 20 to Gosnold, to buy them some time to build up their financial commitment through fundraising to maintaining the program in Nantucket. And theoretically, if they had planned to support a half a year of this new program with other funding sources, that money should be available in some way in their system, because they now have access to 100% of our grant for half a year's programming. So the math to me says there should be some money left over in their budget for this program that could be carried forward into the next fiscal year, and therefore support any reduction of what we give them. Does that make sense in terms of the financial? I mean, that's my bookkeeper head. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at.
I think that depends on how a grant is written, correct? Or funding, whether it can move from one year to another year.
What I'm saying, Dorothy, is that we granted them $100,000 for this current fiscal year. They had 0 operations for 6 months. So they have $100,000 to spend on the second 6 months of the fiscal year. They were going to support 50% of their programming with other dollars, right? I mean, they came to us for half the cost of setting up and running a SO program. So in essence, excuse me?
I think they came to us, and part of it, 78,000 of it is, I think, the SO program of the 100,000.
Okay. But so my point is that instead of $78,000 being spent over 12 months, it's being spent over 6 months. And whatever other funding they were planning on to support that program for a year outside the grant, who knows where it was coming from or whatever, but anyway, that's just, you know, the logistics of it or the technicalities of it are in their books. I don't know, but that's just the logic that I'm looking at it from. And then we're giving the larger share to the programs and the organizations that are here functioning, and we know are going to be here tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know. I know
Linda,
that
Linda,
Dr.
you already spoke.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'll hold on to you for a minute. I'm going to speak and then I'll call you first, okay?
I think Joanna had her hand up before me.
Okay. I can't, I'm sorry, my Zoom is not so great. Joanna, if you want to speak, I'll make my recommendation after you.
Yeah, I think, you know, Brooke makes a couple of good points. The only other thing that I'd like to add to this is that Gosnold has an entire operation on the mainland. And they have other resources that they could potentially pull into this effort. And I think we need to remember that, right? The other two organizations we see completely transparently because they're here and we know what they're doing, right? In that regard, they're not like in a spoke of a wheel of a much bigger effort. Now, part of that I think is an opportunity for them, right, for Gosnold, because I think that they do have additional funding and expertise and reach and resources beyond what the other two organizations have. Yet their presence on Nantucket doesn't necessarily reflect that investment. And therein lies my concern. But I do agree with what Brooke said, and I think, Dorothy, you've made this point very well, which is that having 3 different options for people is important. So thank you for letting me share.
Okay. Linda, I'll let you speak and then I'll speak.
I know Dr. Lepre gets no help from the Nantucket Cottage Hospital, so he has no fallback on this. And this is a program he started himself, by himself, with no resources. And again, I'm back to my 50-50, 50,000 for Fairwinds and 50,000 for Dixon Solutions. Gosnold, I agree with everything Joanna said. They need to prove that they're going to stay here. And they need to prove that they're going to put resources out here, none of which they've proven so far. So I'm hard pressed to vote for any funding for them at all. But if we wanted to give something to encourage them, we shouldn't have to encourage Gosnold. We shouldn't have to support Gosnold. They should want to do it and they should be here on their own. I think throwing them 10 grand or whatever is for me pointless. But if I had to vote for something, it would be 45, 45, and 10. That's where I am.
Okay. I'm going to speak now. Is everybody else done? Is there anybody I missed for a minute here before I go on? No? Okay. First and foremost, we should acknowledge the fact that Gosnold has had a running program here with the emergency care and a therapeutic. They do see clients through teletherapy and on island one-on-one therapy. They do have one therapist that is seeing people. So they do have some form of presence on the island. So we shouldn't not acknowledge that in our conversations that they do have that going, okay? I feel that without some of these, and it's very important, without every one of these steps, you need to have all these steps in recovery. You just need to. And there's evidence proved on, I'm going to give you the name of the organization. Sorry. That radiates it's called Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration as part of the federal government. And it talks about the protocols of it. And these 3 different programs are highlighted as parts of the steps for recovery. When we look at that, we are looking at a program that, yes, Brooke, it got funding. They asked for a year. They asked us to pay for half a year. They might have funding somewhere else. The funding also might be tied up in grants that isn't available. We don't know their inner workings of that. I think they've tried to be as transparent as they can. We have transparency issues with other organizations, so I don't think it's fair to talk about being transparent. Because that has been a problem in the past with others. We look at this grant money, we know that Fair Winds has at least 20,000 already they can apply towards this program. So that should be playing into our thought process. I believe I would go with Bert and I would divide it all three ways. I would give some to Gosnold, some to Addiction Solutions, some to Fair Winds. Gosnold has put their foot out on to start a program by shutting it financially all the way down when it uses grant money to run a program. And us not supporting it would, and supporting it, to me, handing $10,000 is not a sign of we support you. It's almost a slap in the face. In the fact that we're not saying, okay, we believe in the program you're doing, because I know that in helping all these programs, we help them get funding in other solutions. Addiction Solutions has had money. The Rotary helped start that program and has funded it. He's had private donors. I understand what he does. I also understand that that part that's missing from him, his program, is the therapeutic end of that program, and that's essential. And so I think that by funding all three of these, we can look at all three steps of it and say, you know, the step that Gosnold is providing is the step back when you come back here. The peer recovery coach program is when you've gone through what would be considered a halfway house or a three-quarter house and coming back. For some people that can't afford the halfway house or the three-quarter house, the program Gosnold's offering is that. And that's essential in getting your foot on the ground. So I think by dividing it and giving each program the equal amount of that, you're giving Fair Winds will have a substantial amount taking their 20,000 to help their program get up and running. We're supporting one that is been in running for 10 years. And we're saying to one that's put their foot out there, here we are, and we are going to support you. Let's show us what you can do. We're not going to fund you 100%. We're not even funding you 50%, but we're going to give you more than just $10,000 towards your program. Every program they run on grants. And so it's going to be important for each and every one of these in the further to try to apply for grants is that they have the town grant behind them. I know that Tim Lepre writes his own grants. We're the only person he's actually really written a grant to. So he has, I mean, there's no resources going out there looking for grants, and we're not saying, hey, how come they're not searching for other grants to help fund this? So I think that we have to look at them all equally if we're going to say that. And yes, it's a great program. It's been around for 10 years. I know he's put his heart and soul into the program. But I know that it doesn't necessarily, abide by all that it should, nor do any of these. And I think all together, they could make a mesh. And I think it's important that we advocate for equal funding to all, and then advocate for the town for additional funding at some point in this cannabis to maybe help support the programs further. That's my viewpoint on it. So.
I think it should be 40, 40, 20.
I have to stretch myself to go there.
Well, but I think you have to look at them all. I mean, you have Fair Winds already has $20,000 they can apply to it. They have, we talk about programs and we talk about not getting upset with programs, maybe because, COVID got in the way and stuff, but we're not even looking at that for Gosnold. So you have a program that they've been funded before Fair Winds. They dropped it because of COVID and this, and yet Gosnold's getting punished because of COVID. So I think we have to be like, look at the broader picture. Fair Winds has $20,000 already that they can set aside to start this program. What can we do to enhance that? And if that's giving them like 37,000 or what, that gives them $57,000 to start a program, and they could get on the floor and we can see, is this a great program? Helping Addiction Solutions is a major help in him because he's never had funding from the town before. and then going to a program that we've already funded in previous years, that we just started, a seed program, and we're already saying, we're not even giving you the chance as a seed program to prove to us by the end of the year what they've done, I don't think is fair. I don't think we would do this as much with any other seed program that has been out here. And yes, they're from America, but that also gives them the resources when somebody walks in the door to get them there somewhere faster, if need be. And that resource is really important. Everything that Gosnell does on the mainland is done through grants as well as fundraisers, and they're trying and starting here. And I think that our job as an organization is to look at all of these and say, we're supposed to give seed money to programs, and let's give seed money to these programs.
Right.
Joanna.
I hear you. I think that, you know, from my perspective, I don't doubt anything that you're saying, but this is a risk assessment. And we're tasked with giving $100,000 away to people who are most risk, who we have to evaluate the risk of this going well. And Gosnold has the weakest risk assessment, right? Their full-time person doesn't even live here, right? There's going to be all kinds of, I mean, look at, we all know this. There's going to be all kinds of issues just because of that alone, right? I mean, so I do think that, I mean, I guess I have the bigger picture that I'm trying to keep in mind. If they are as capable and as competent as they are portraying themselves, and as some of us might believe that they are, then they'll be here next year and we'll give them more money. Right? I think that that's fair. And I think, you know, Dr. Lepre has proven himself. He is incredibly generous. He is doing really good work here. I think he deserves a larger share of the money. And frankly, Fairwinds is able to, you know, go and hit the ground running in a way that Gosnold really isn't able to do. So I can't go to the even thirds. I mean, I can live with the 40-40-20, but that's a stretch for me.
Does anybody else have a hand up?
I'm with you, Joanna, but I also know that with Gosnell, I agree with you 100%. I just know that with Gosnell, my personal experience working there, and I don't know if it's okay for me to say this, but
I mean, if you work,
Really,
what's
if you
that?
get paid by, if you get paid by them, not really, but I don't believe your contact with them is being, because you're paid by them.
No, I do not work under Gosnell. I work with Nantucket College Hospital. I'm just saying from what I see, they do a lot for the people, behavioral health patients, and you know, with transporting on and off, they are always working very hard, and they work as quick as they can. So that's why I feel like I'm not happy with them not being here on island, but I do see the work that they do. So it wouldn't be fair for them not to get anything. I think they should at least get 20. And that's because they do work very hard with the hospital. I see their work.
My hands up again, Dorothy. I'm not saying that they're not doing great stuff here for years. I've known several people who've gone over there, but that's not what we're asking for here, and that's not what we're talking about here. They've been doing that for years without us, and they've had enough funding or insurance to keep doing that. So I'm talking about just this one, not the fact that they don't have a lot of great stuff that they're doing on the mainland and what they've done for people coming out of the hospital here, going over there, being sent over there. This is a different animal to me. Well, where are we?
I'm here. Sorry, I just got a text message from Brian Turbert, so I was just trying to read it. Sorry.
Maybe he got us more money.
I'm just getting a phone call from Brian. Turner. If you can all hold on for a minute, please.
Bert, if she can't see you, you should unmute and holler.
Dorothy,
She's on the phone,
She's on the
but
phone.
after she gets off.
my battery's almost gone, so,
I think
If
this
we-
is important. I just got a phone call from Brian Turbert in regards to my questioning and questions with him this morning. They have just upped the ante to $175,000.
Oh, boy.
Told ya.
Yep.
Hey.
Yep.
Dorothy,
Okay.
I've got to go, so, unless we can vote in 2 seconds, someone's gonna have to take my proxy.
We can't do a proxy, but that just changes the whole discussion, Bert. You can't plug in for a minute?
Well, if we can do it in a minute, everyone's I've got an
You-
appointment, everyone's waiting for me to get going.
Oh, you have an appointment. I'm sorry. Okay, wow, well, that just changed everything. We just got $175,000 versus 100,000.
Yeah, I wonder what chain he had to crawl up to get that.
We knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to
Yeah.
happen.
We knew that
So-
wasn't right. And we knew that. They just sort of picked that
Yes,
figure out of the air.
That's awesome.
So can I make a recommendation?
Yes,
Can we go 70, 70, 40?
Yes.
yes.
Or
Yes,
something?
I'll agree to that.
Yes, so we're talking Fairwinds,
Giving
Addiction
Fairwind-
Solutions.
Yeah, we're giving them, so we have 70, 70, that makes 140 and
35.
And 35 goes to Gosnold.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Yep.
I'll second it.
everybody okay with that?
Yes,
Yay.
Okay, ready? Well, here
Roll-
goes. I'm gonna go through it. I'm a Bert, I'm gonna do you number one. We have a motion or on the, can you just
Yeah,
vote?
motion.
hurry up, I just got the thing, my battery's
Bert,
got 1%
Bert,
left.
vote.
Bert,
Yes.
vote.
Yes, yes,
Thank you. You can leave. Bye.
Bye, Bert.
Gosh,
I have no battery left.
Tom Balash. John,
Yes.
awesome. Brooke,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Dorothy, yes, with a yay to Brian Turber for coming up with all that.
I think they,
One more, guys. There's one
It's
more.
a yay to Dorothy for reaching out.
Ruthie,
I
sorry.
think they, the minute we started questioning the amount is when they
One
realized.
second.
gonna
We
come
still have
up.
one more vote. We still have one more
Did
vote.
it, Ruthie.
Wait, Ruthie.
Thank you, Jericho. Yes.
Sorry, Ruthie.
Okay.
Sorry
Excellent.
about that. I do have a question. I just sent you a question to Jericho. Jericho, can you read that, please, and answer that question for me?
Yes, so Ruthie does work for the hospital. The vote on the I believe she can sit in on the vote on the hospital because she works, I don't think she works for social services, so we're not awarding the grant directly to her. I will double check that.
Yeah,
Because I think we probably do.
I'll say, sorry, Ruthie, I just had to double check after you said Cottage Hospital. It reiterated that we just had to make sure that it was okay that you voted on that. The human service contracts.
It should be fine on, there shouldn't be any conflict whatsoever on any non-cottage hospital related grants. And then I do not believe, but I will double check
We'll start to walk towards the
on
hospital.
the hospital grant specifically.
Okay, fabulous.
No, I cannot. I have to be back here by 12:30. Goodbye.
Sorry, oh, there you go.
Sorry.
No worries.
It's my
Okay, you
child.
didn't mute yourself.
I'm sorry. You can hear me yelling at Noah.
Okay. We're all parents here. Okay, with that being said, everybody, fabulous. I'm excited that we got that extra money.
Me too. That's great.
And what a big difference that makes for everybody out there.
Right down to the wire too.
Right down to the wire on getting that. So that's really great.
Dorothy?
Yeah?
I just want to say thank you for shepherding us.
Yes.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. It was an interesting year.
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna-
shall I move to adjourn?
In 1 second, I just want to tell everybody, I'm going to actually forward this article that I have, that I think you should just have to better understand from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. I think everybody should have it. I also was told today, which I'm going to keep an eye on, is that there is a big article right now in front of the House Senate, State Senate, on insurance funding and serve mental health and behavioral health funding. So it'll be a big game changer. And I think it's really important to understand, we were told at one point that telehealth is not going on in the state and telehealth is going on in the state. And the only way Fairwinds is seeing their psychiatry is through telehealth. So we should all know that telehealth is something that is actively, and most insurance providers are switching to allowing telehealth. Not that it's the way everybody should be getting services, but it is there. And we were informed before that telehealth is not, people cannot get reimbursed for telehealth, and that is not true. I just wanted everybody to know that, and that this bill is coming forward. As the bill comes forward, I will make sure Ann sends it out to you when we get it in. So you keep you abreast of everything. And so the next meeting, I will try to get a report done and get it for our next meeting so that everybody can read it, okay? So everybody have a great weekend or a great rest of the week. Brooke, have a wonderful time in New Hampshire, sorry. And we can make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
that.
Okay, I'm gonna go down the line. Joanna,
Yes.
Linda,
Yep.
Brooke,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ruthie,
Yes.
Jericho and Ann, thank you very much. We'll talk to everybody later.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Relatively
Thank you, guys.
painless.
Thank you.
Relatively painless.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
Yeah.